Alright, so today we're going to try a little bit of a different video deal. I'm not going to time-lapse at all. I'm just going to kind of give you highlights of what I've done. Because I think it'll probably be more interesting. So what we're going to do first is take the power steering pump off. I can take it off, and so I want it out of the way, so I'm going to do that. And then we're going to remove the linkages that connect the clutch to the clutch pedal. After that, it should be pretty easy to take the drivetrain out, but I don't know yet, so we'll see. Okay, so this is the power steering pump here, and the problem I had with this was this joint here where this hard line meets, this is seized in this nut here, but this one will come out of the housing. So what I'm going to do is take this hose off here because it's just held on by a hose clamp. I'm guessing this is the low pressure, return. And then I'll be able to take this off by spinning the housing off of the hard line. So yeah, that's what we're going to do here. And we're just going to leave the hard line in there. I don't really feel like messing with it, so alright, let's get going on that. Okay, so here it is. I got it off. I think the return line's a little bit dry rotted because I tried, well, could be because I was using a screwdriver to pry it off, but it started splitting. And taking off the pressure line the way I did is wrong on so many levels, but it was the only way I could do it. And the reason you don't want to do it is because there's this plunger here and a spring, and when I took it off they shot out of there like nothing else. So yeah, in the future, well, actually I'm gonna see if I can loosen all that stuff up and get it to work properly, but so that I can put the female end of that pressure line back in here. So alright, so that was the power steering pump. Next thing we're gonna do is the clutch pedal linkage here. We're not gonna remove any of this. This is all gonna stay on the Jeep, and I'm actually hoping that I can keep the springs on here. What we're gonna try to do is remove it from the clutch fork. I forgot exactly what the name was exactly, but we're gonna try to remove the linkage from basically the transmission housing. And after that's done, I'm pretty sure that I should be able to get this undone, but I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. So let's get to it. Alright, so I made a little bit of a discovery. I'm going to have to remove this linkage here from the car along with all the springs because it's attached to this, it's attached to the transmission housing over here, and I think that even if I just simply unbolt it from over there, it'll still be in the way because this is hard mounted over here, and I don't know if this will move around, so that whole thing's got to come out. And I mean, it's kind of a bummer, but it's 4 bolts, so it should all go back to the way it was. And all the things that are adjustable, I don't think that I'm going to try to adjust so that it all goes back the way it came off. Okie dokie. Okay, so this is the linkage to the clutch. It's got 2 bolts. These 2 are attached to the transmission housing, and 2 nuts over here. These are attached to the tub, or the body. The clutch pedal has a bar coming off of it that attaches here, and when you push on it, it pushes this forward, which makes this side come, go in the opposite direction. And then this linkage here pushes the forks forward and back, which moves the clutch back and forth. Disengages and engages the clutch. This here is one of the springs that retracts the clutch pedal when you let go of the clutch. So that's what that is. The other one's still on there. I didn't take it off because it's on the engine, so I'll take it off when I tear everything out. But yeah, this is what this is. It had a really wimpy cotter pin here. I mean, look at this, I crushed it. To hold the clutch pedal linkage onto this, the clutch pedal bar, holding it onto here. So these little washers and this tiny little cotter pin went in. But yeah, so that's what that is. Real easy to take off. So yeah, all right, moving on. All right, so as you can see, I got the shop crane hooked up to the engine. I'm just test fitting it, really, although I don't think I'm going to undo it or take it off or anything, just because I don't feel like it. I am going to take off the valve cover here, just because I don't know if the weight of the engine and all that will crush this in between the chains when I'm trying to pick it up. So I'm going to take it off, and if those chains don't interfere with anything underneath it, I think that I'll leave it off. If these chains do end up touching something, though, I'm going to put it back on. I'd rather crush this than, a rocker or, the whole rocker assembly. And what this is if any of you have worked on them 4.2 liter inline sixes, you know that they have, or at least mine does. I don't know if they all do, but mine has Allen key bolts to hold the valve cover on. And they have one in the front and they have one in the back. And the space between the firewall and the valve cover is about that much. So I made this because I have gotten it off with an Allen key before, but it's like 1/8 of a turn at a time, and it takes about an hour to get the damn thing out. So I put this together. I had to slice and dice one of my Allen keys, and I put it into I think it's a 1/4 inch socket, and electrical taped it up, and it seems to, well, it did work pretty well. Got it out in a pretty decent amount of time. So yeah, that's what all this is right now. So I guess we'll get to moving on. We'll start unbolting the transmission from its mountings and all that. Get that cross member plate out of there, and we'll see if everything's disconnected. I think it is, and then we'll undo the engine mounts and pull her out. So, all right, let's get started. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about when I say that cross member and the mounting point for the transmission, this right here is this big old plate cross member, kind of a skid plate cross member deal, but the transmission is also mounted to it. You see those 2 bolts right there? Those have to come out. This whole thing needs to be dropped, I think, and then the transmission and everything can come out. So that's what I'm doing right now. Everything else should be disconnected. Keep saying that, but I'm kind of worried about it. This is the first time I've ever actually taken everything out. I've removed engines before, but not the whole Kuliana. So yeah, see, there's something right there. There's a wire. I'm sure that goes to a gauge somewhere. That needs to come out. But yeah, there's just bunches of little stuff that I still need to get out of here. And then this will come out, and probably today I'll have the engine and transmission mount out. So, cool beans. Alright guys, so my engine, transmission, and transfer case are hanging by this and a jack stand on the back of the transfer case. So that's not connected to the truck right now. So what I'm going to be doing is rolling the truck back rather than rolling the crane back that way towards you, because I don't have a whole lot of room in here, and with the jack stand on the back being the only thing supporting that, you know, a lot of the weight back there, I really can't move this. So I'm gonna have to be like stupid careful about this, but I think I can do it. So you guys get to sit through me cringing and well, basically tearing my hair out over getting this thing out in one piece. So all right, let's get this going. Okay, so hopefully, as you can see, I can't tell if you can see this or not, but I got the engine and transmission out, got them pulled apart. It was really the first time that I've pulled the whole assembly out like this. I've torn in frames down to a block and left it in the frame, and I've done engines outside of the vehicles, but I've never actually pulled an engine. I think I said that I did later in one of the clips beforehand, but I never have. So this was a new experience for me, and it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. You know, you just undo about 10 bolts, and yank it out. What really threw me though was well, it didn't really throw me. I knew it was going to happen. I unbolted the transmission and the transfer case from a cross member that goes across the bottom. It's basically a skid plate / cross member / mounting point for the transmission. And I unbolted it and started dropping the plate down. And I had a jack under there to catch it, you know, a jack stand just in case something bad happened. And what was scary was I was zipping it off and it fell. So nothing broke. It fell like about that much, but it was still kind of freaky. But in any case, that was kind of the only weird thing. The other thing was I took the engine mounts off of the engine itself before removing it from the Jeep, so I had to then take the engine mounts off of the frame. So that was another thing that I ran into. Something else is this load leveler right here. Because of this, it's a hand crank deal. I can't put a impact wrench on it at all. I've seen load levelers where you can put an impact on it and zip it to where you want it. So under load, I had to do this manually, and it didn't work because there's a lot of weight there, and it took me maybe 5 seconds to crank this around once, and they're pretty fine threads in here. Well, not fine, but they are a coarse thread, but it's a long bar, so one turn is almost nothing as far as moving this back and forth. So I had to take the weight off of it, move it where I needed it, lift it back up. I never really quite got it to where I needed it, so I just used the shop crane to lift it as high as I possibly could and rolled the Jeep out from under it. So that's what happened there. I took the valve cover off because I didn't want to get it squished, and the reason I didn't put it back on is because these chains didn't really touch the rockers, so I don't think anything got hurt. So that's that. I just got to clean up some coolant and go to the hardware store and pick up some bolts for the engine stand. The reason that's not hooked up is because the bolts that mount the transmission to the engine are too short. They don't fit through the engine stand's mounting points. So got to go to Home Depot, Ace, somewhere, and grab some longer bolts. Probably a crap ton of washers too, just to be safe. But yeah, that's yeah, that's what I did. It's maybe you want to see the Jeep. I'm not entirely sure if you can see that, but I'll take some pictures and a little bit more video tomorrow, and you'll get to see it in the daylight. So, all right, that'll be all for today.